and welcome back to 1 Minute History, where you know we're lying about our name, but not about the facts. Do you hear it? The purge has begun. The purge is a major part in modern pop culture, as it left a big empty gap for people to wonder about the purge and YouTubers to transform it into games. If you don't know, the purge is a fictional event from a movie that happens every March 21st from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And during that time, all crime is legal, and everyone loots, kills, and makes loads of money. Oh wait! No, not that last one. Sorry about that. And anyways, in this video, I'm going to be talking about if the purge could happen, if something similar to it has happened before in history, and the purge after effects. Now strap in the machine guns on your shoulder and let's get purging. First thing we have to cover in this video is if anything similar to the purge ever happened in history. And the answer to that is, well, iffy. The first and most obvious candidate for the purge is the Roman holiday of Saturnalia, where it was pretty much lawlessness for 1 week straight, and the streets were filled with temporarily freed slaves, banquets, and a person that would be crowned the Saturnalia king. During the festival, there were public sacrifice to the god Saturn. There was crime and killing, but it was not intentional to do that, so it falls under maybe. The number 2 is the Shanghai Massacre. The Shanghai Massacre, or the April 12th incident as it is known in China, was a violent uprising by the Communist Party of China, and about 5,000 people lost their lives. The Communist Party had been steadily growing over the years, and finally felt that it was time to rise up. The non-communist parties were attacked and fled to Taiwan. This is more like the purge, and it really looks like it, so I'll give this one a yes. And here's number 3, Stalin's Great Communist Purge. From 1936 to 1938 is when Stalin's Great Purge happened, when he sent anyone or anything who dared disobey him or be in league with capitalism in any way, he sent to death in the horrific gulag where they'd be worked to death. The thing about Stalin's purge is that it was less of a purge and more of a government-led roundup of so-called enemies of the state, such as anyone who owned a private business or anyone who was reported by neighbors for doing anything suspicious. We'll put this one in no. Now for the second part of the video, could it happen? The short answer to this question is obviously no in today's world. But that's the thing, in today's world. In the past, could something like this happen in a civilization? Let's find out. Number 1, medieval times. The reason medieval era is on this list is because it had no policemen and the only rules were established by kingdoms and not by central government, which meant each kingdom went by its own rule. The only downside to this was there's not much to do. What are you going to do? Dare to attempt a robbery against the king and chop off his head with a guillotine? No, that's an episode for another day. So because of that reason, and because there were no bank yet, this gets a solid no. And now, the Viking Age. So just before this, I said the medieval age. And you're probably saying to yourself, hey, Viking Age and medieval age are the same. And I say to your viewer that you are correct. By the medieval age, I mean mainland Europe. And by Viking Age, I mean what is now known as the United Kingdom and Scandinavian lands. Now that we have that settled, let's get talking. The Viking Age was pretty much lawlessness, as you could hit pretty much anything or anyone with an axe or sword and raid anyone. But the king was still in control and could order the other Vikings to kill you. And a purge could happen, but it was highly unlikely, as it would disturb their conquest and raids. And for that reason, it gets a maybe. Now for the final part of this category, the Old West. For once in this video, it will take place where the purge happened in the movie, the good old US of A and land of the free. The Old West was the definition of lawlessness. Of course, there were sheriffs who fought crime, but some of them were bad, such as the famous Watt Earp, who was actually just a gambler. Criminals ran wild, and the purge most certainly could have happened there if it was announced. People were pretty much running around purging before this, and now it's allowed, means they would run around like crazy. So in this category, I give it a yes. Now for the final part of the video, what the after effects of the purge would be. Judging by what we've reviewed so far, the after effects of the purge would definitely cause an economic crash in today's standards. But that's the thing, it's not in today's standards. Do you think an ancient Viking would be watching the stock market? No, it would not have much of a difference as long as it was before the year 1880, as by then, the world was evolving into what we know today. Back in those times, there was no machine guns and cars, there was axes and muskets. There was just the way of life. Obviously, there was dungeons and death penalties, but it was the time, and the time kept moving. The other effect the purge would have had was an increase of crime after the purge, as wrong people would attempt to strike back. You can cross an outlaw, but you will suffer the consequences. And the last after effect would that everything would be changed in a dynamic. As most people would split into factions, everything would be split. And what would really change is how things go. There'd be distrust in others and strong bitterness between each other. And that's it for today. The purge could not work and would not happen in today's standards, but it possibly could have happened in historical standards. That's the end of the story, the his story. Thanks for stopping by and have a great rest of your day. P.S. Sorry for saying this special would be in February. It could not work for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. 1 minute history. And a quick thanks to our sponsor, our very first one, The Carol Markowitz Show. The Carol Markowitz Show is on iHeartRadio. I don't really know what it's about, but I know it's super good and the best podcast around. I'm not really a podcast guy, but this one really caught my eye. So if that describes you, or if you do like podcasts, then go to iHeartRadio, look up The Carol Markowitz Show, and watch it. You won't regret it.